Good evening and welcome to the Taft City Council Successor Agency Joint Regular Meeting for Tuesday, March 5th, 2013. As a courtesy to all, if you have a cell phone, please put it on silent. And we will begin tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Ron Waldrop and an invocation by Jack Turner of the Peace Lutheran Church. Please rise.
Salute and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening seeking thy blessing upon this council meeting. Bless the councilman, O Lord, that they have the wisdom and the knowledge to satisfy the agenda this evening. Bless each and every one in attendance here, and if they have any questions, they be satisfactorily answered. Bless each and every one of us with a safe journey trip home. This we ask in the Son named Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Waldrop. Thank you, Mr. Turner. And may we have a roll call?
Mayor Linder?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryor?
Here.
Councilmember Miller?
Here.
Councilmember Noor? Councilmember Waldrop?
Here.
Thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda tonight is hearing on cost and placement of liens on abated properties. And I might mention that Mr. Jones is not with us tonight, and filling in for him is our HR Director Assistant City Manager, Mr. Lon Boyer. Welcome.
Thank you. Let me read the agenda.
It's up to you now.
Okay.
No, you're on. You're fine.
Okay. Okay, the first item is a hearing on cost and placement of liens on abated properties. The properties listed below have had nuisances abated. The owners of record have been notified by certified mail and by posting on said properties in accordance with the City of Taft Municipal Code of the costs incurred during the abatement process. The owners were also notified of the time and place of a public hearing on costs whereby council will hear any objections or protests from the property owner or other interested parties. If costs of abatement as submitted or modified for the property listed here are not paid within 5 days from the date of confirmation, the confirmed statements of expense shall constitute a lien against the properties, and all such costs shall be made a personal obligation against the property owner pursuant to Section 38773 of the California Government Code and Taft Municipal Code, Section 3-4.5-5, subsection C and subsection D. The APN numbers are 031-030-22-00, located at 322 Center Street, Taft, California, in the amount of $1,154.50. APN 031-440-10-00, located at 123 North Street, Taft, California, in the amount of $6,047.50, and APN 031-230-16-00, located at 716 North Street, Taft, California, in the amount of $4,627.50.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. At this time, I will conduct a public hearing and listen to for a statement of expense. Anybody wishing to comment on any of these abatements, please come forward now. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to confirm the statement of expense as submitted and approved. Resolutions titled A, Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving and confirming the cost for the abatement of the nuisance at 322 Center Street, Taft, California, APN number 031-030-22-00.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, gentlemen, on Resolution A?
Nope.
I do, if I may, Mr.
Yes,
Mayor.
please.
It's a shame that the city has to go to these lengths to clean up messes left by somebody who's a property owner. At some point in time, somebody bought a property because they wanted to be a property owner. and through neglect or just absolute indifference to the safety and the quality of life in our community, they let it go downhill to a point where the city has to get involved. And there are times when this ends up in kind of a bigger stinking match after we go through and we abate the nuisance. But we owe it to the public, we owe it to the people who live here and take pride in this city to get rid of those messes. And I'm glad that we do. I will just briefly applaud our new supervisor, David Couch, and Mark Salvaggio. I am telling you, I don't go 2 days without getting an email from those folks regarding something that they are working on in the unincorporated areas around Taft. So those of you who live in the unincorporated areas of the west side and think you don't have a voice in government and you don't have a friend in government and accessibility, you are sadly mistaken. I would urge you to take advantage of the fact that Supervisor Couch, along with his staff, including Mark, are readily available, and they are concerned, and they are working hand in hand with other public agencies as well as the city of Taft to clean up the mess, the messes in unincorporated areas, just as surely as the city of Taft is working to clean up the messes inside our city limits. So thank you very much to David and Mark and his staff, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Norr.
Mayor, I do have one comment. I don't know how many of these hearings we've had over the years. I think one person has shown up, so it's kind of sad that we have to come to this point and still the property owners don't show up to defend themselves, or that we have to go in and spend taxpayers' dollars to clean all these properties up. So it's just I don't know, it's just sad that we've had all these. I don't know how many we've had, but we've had a bundle of them. It's too bad.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Mr. Cryer?
I have no comment. This is, other than that, I agree with Councilman Norr on his subject with David Couch, and it's sad too that the owners don't come and respond, just like neglected. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Waldron?
I really don't have anything to say on a repeat things that we keep doing like you're saying, and I too would like to thank Supervisor Couch and his helpers and whatnot. They keep you abreast on what's going on, and I'm very happy with what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make it clear that the city of Taft is, as has been said, is expending taxpayer dollars, and this time it's in the form of 3 nuisance abatements, and it looks like we're running about $12,000 of taxpayer money on this one. That doesn't give us the right to take the property, doesn't give us the right to occupy the property, and the only way we can get those dollars back is if that property should change hands. So as long as the negligent property owner does nothing but sit on their property, we have invested $12,000 into various properties this time. I don't know how, as Mr. Miller said, how many times before we've done this, but we have a lot of taxpayers' dollars sitting on lots that should not be there. So we're not taking anybody's land, we're just putting a lien on it so that we can ensure that someday, somewhere down the line, we can get our money back. So, and I just had a question for Mr. Prentice. Would it be appropriate to ask Mr. Miller to expand his motion to include B and C also? Or should we do each one individually?
No, that's appropriate since we don't have any appearances.
Okay. Mr. Miller, could I ask you to amend your motion?
Yes, I amend my motion to include items A, B, and C.
And I believe, Mr. Norr, you had the second?
Yes, sir, I would amend my second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Just to speed things up a little bit. And is there any further comments on B or C? Seeing none, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Norr?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldron?
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Mayor Linder?
Yes, thank you. Next item on the agenda is citizens' request for public comments. This is the time and the place for the general public to address the city council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes, and the first person wishing to speak is Holly Gowan, representing Community Cleanup. Mrs. Gowan, would you restate your name and your address, please?
Holly Gowan, and I live at 200 North Street in Taft.
Thank you.
It's funny that this is my first time I've ever come to a city council meeting, so bear with me. But it's odd that Mr. Nora was talking about the cleanup in Taft, and that's exactly what I'm here about today. I've lived here since '96, and I have noticed Highway 119, 33, those are our main roads that go past our town, and they are full of trash. There is so much trash out there, and it's not just on the outskirts of town, it's on inside too. And my thought is we have this beautiful bronze monument in town, that there's no inviting atmosphere on the outskirts of town for people to come in and see this thing. I mean, the monument is beautiful, but there's no signage out there. And myself, if I was driving by this town and I seen all the garbage, there'd be no way I'd want to go into that town. So my thing is that I would like to see the community come together and start cleaning it up. Yes, we used to have the inmates at one time that would clean up, and they did a great job, but it doesn't look like we're going to get them. So my thought would be is to organize a cleanup crew, bring in your brownies, your Girl Scouts, your Cub Scouts, your FFA, your 4-H, bring those youth groups in and have them help 2 hours at a time, 2 miles down the road. Just short little cleanup times, and everybody gets involved and start putting some pride back in our town and get this place cleaned up again, because it's going to get hot, and all that's going to do is just create more of a fire hazard with all the trash laying around. So that was just my thought.
Well, it's a good thought. Weeds are growing too.
Weeds are growing.
And they're going to dry out, and it's going to look awful.
Exactly. So. In fact, I worked on my yard today to get rid of that. But, you know, the youth groups are here, and I think that they would earn badges that they earn throughout the year for their achievements, helping the community. And on top of it, everybody gets a part into it, and we all work together and clean it back up again, because honestly, Taft is looking bad. It really is looking bad anymore. And I've never seen it so trashy, actually. And there's...
Well, I'd like to disagree with you, ma'am. I don't think that the area in Taft, you know, if you're talking about Taft, the city of Taft, or are you talking about the city of Taft, or are you talking about metropolitan Taft, which includes the other areas?
All the areas.
Yeah,
all the
okay.
areas. Well, and I agree. The inner part of Taft, no, it looks very pretty.
Thank you.
It looks real good. Everything looks real tailored. It's as you start to go outskirts, it just becomes, you know, a mess. And it's all it takes is all of us to just work together to clean it up. And I think it could be done within 2 or 3 weekends. Like I said, have 6 crews of 6 or 8 people, disperse them out, have these youth groups come in, they earn their achievements, and we get our town cleaned up. It's just a win-win.
You need to check more into it, considering people under 18 being out on the highway. I don't think they'll allow it.
And no, they would not. And
Yeah.
of course, everybody that is in traffic has to wear orange vests.
Yeah.
And my thought, possibly we could get maybe Caltrans to donate those as long as we return them.
They will.
And then like the younger groups, have them in town, going around one block or something. Of course, they would have an adult with them. They would have a crew member with them, plus encourage the parents of these children to participate also, and plus you have a chaperone.
Well, probably like any of these ideas and getting these kinds of projects going, you need leadership. And, you know, we're all looking at you. And, you know, you got to get people in leadership roles that can organize and get people committed to it, and, you know, you have to sometimes give little rewards, and that might be sodas or, you know, donations of sodas and water and those kinds of things, and getting shirts made up and all those kinds of things. So it's finding people to take the reins and run with it. So that's probably our biggest challenge, is to find people who would be able to do that.
So if I contacted store owners in town and see what they would donate, if they could participate.
Well, you're getting the word out right now and right tonight. We have both the newspapers here, so you know, you start by talking to them and talking to everybody you can talk to and get ideas and run with it.
I think it would work.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your concern. Next speaker is Kathy Orrin with the Chamber.
Hello, I'm Kathy Orrin, Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce. I live at 513 Hilltop Court. It's kind of interesting. I'm here to talk about a few things, one of which is cleaning up. And I want to acknowledge to Holly that we have our Oaxacan community that has joined with Bob Hampton and has done 2 cleanup days and has worked very hard for 2 Sundays in February to clean up significant portions of the outside of Taft and even some inroads into Taft. But interestingly enough, Craig Jones, who is our city manager, and I'm sorry that Craig's not here, involved the Greater Taft Economic Development Authority, which is a new EDA, joined kind of an offspring of the Chamber, and suggested that we take a tour of Taft, which we did on February 15th. And I'm here to give you the first report. I have copies for you as per our instructions. So I'll just pass these up. And I have copies for folks in the audience if you're interested. Did you have to pass those up? The report, what we decided to do was get together, and the folks that got in the van were City Manager Craig Jones, Councilman Orchel Cryer, myself, Bill Black, and Michael Long, who is the chairperson of our Economic Development Authority. And what we did was concentrate on the entrances to our city, because as Holly said, I hope you don't mind me calling you by your first name. We're good friends already. What Holly said is, who's going to want to stop and look at a beautiful monument if we don't, first of all, have signage, and that's a whole nother story that I'm not going to talk about today. But we need to make sure that the entrances to our city are inviting. And you'll see by the pictures, and these pictures are not exhaustive, they are simply to give you kind of an idea of what we concentrated on as we drove around. We concentrated on the entrances to our city, and those brought us to some neighborhood issues, because you see, if you go on Wood Street, you look right or left, you got other streets there. So we found ourselves going down other streets. The last page, actually 2 pages back to back, is a laundry list of issues that we saw. Now, some of these issues have to do with questions. For instance, how many tires is too many tires at Campos Tires? That's a question. We don't know. So this is not a list of bad things. This is a list of concerns that the Economic Development Authority wants to look at. You'll see a lot of things are posted, and some of these are city, some of these are county. You'll see some of these properties have been posted for years, and nothing's been done. That's because it's expensive to do something, and we know that. We've also seen, you'll see 2 places that there's a check mark in the first column. That means that miraculously things were done. The huge tree that sits next to Conley School has disappeared. That's all I'm going to say. There is another house that was in pretty bad shape behind Arts Liquor. It has been taken care of. So these are things, you don't know what we can concentrate on until we concentrate on them. So that's what this is. This is report number 1. Our goal is to hammer along, this needs to be done. If you are a child attending Conley School and you have to walk on the street past a horrible mess, because if you walk on the dirt where a sidewalk would be, if there were a sidewalk, you can't because there's trash there. There's something wrong with that. We're better than that. So although that is a county issue, through the Greater Taft Economic Development Authority, it becomes the issue of the authority. That's the city and county working together. Now, I've worked very hard on this. I was the one in the back of the van writing when everybody was driving around. I don't even do well reading maps in the back of the van. So I have gone through this route 3 times now to make sure that what I have written here for you is in fact what we looked at. This is not an exhaustive list. There's a lot of stuff that we didn't concentrate on. This just comes out of our going through the major entrances to our city. So you can see that we have a lot of work to do. But the Greater Taft Economic Development Authority is up to the task. And what we're asking for you is a recognition that that's on our radar. We want your support. We're going to want your help in looking for grant money because honestly this stuff doesn't happen without money, and you know that as well as we know that. So that is, this is our first report. I'm sorry that Craig wasn't here because honestly, this was Craig's idea. Let's get in a van and let's just drive around and see what's out there. I did not include a picture of the boat that was out in the middle of the fields between Harrison and 119. In fact, I made my husband drive me around Sunday to make sure that I had these addresses right, and I made him go out in the field, and he goes, "There's no boat out here." And I said, "Oh, yes, there is." Well, guess what? There isn't. So somebody has taken care of the boat. And I don't care who. That's why when people call me and say, "Hey, who did that?" My answer is,
who cares? Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't care. I just know that certain parts of our city are safer now because those things are gone. So that's the first part of what I wanted to bring to your attention. Do you have any questions about the EDA? Yes.
I do, and this is a scary list because it's your first attempt, but the old rest home that's on West Ash.
Don't get me started. Yes.
Yeah, it's a mess, and we know that, but it's not a city property.
It is a county.
It is a county property. Not that I want to push that off. I'm just saying to make
I apologize.
But how can we go about? I noticed there's one name here at 230 Center Street. I'm not going to mention the name because no other names are mentioned. But how do we go about getting names attached to these properties? Because I think if we start looking at the owners and we start letting folks know in the neighborhood who the owners are, that perhaps some community pressure can be put on some of these folks.
That's absolutely true.
Because I don't want my neighbors living in squalor because somebody else isn't taking care of their property. And so I think what we need to do is assign names to this. And I think if nothing else, the city, even though it's county jurisdiction, I think it would be reasonable for the city to send a letter to these homeowners saying, look, you're a neighbor, clean up your act.
Well, the Greater Taft Economic Development Authority has the authority to do that because we represent both the city and the county, and we've been given that authority. So we're willing to do that. You're looking at the secretary of that body, and my goal is to, of course, attach owner names on that last column.
Good.
And we're working to do that. But I wanted to get the enormity of the issue out to you. So,
good job.
Any
I
other
remember
questions?
a chamber, I think it was a chamber about probably 25 years ago, was doing kind of the same thing, went around, took a bunch of pictures, and came forward to the Kiwanis Club and had a slideshow. And one of the properties was down on Irene Street, and it was one of our club members, and they had a bunch of Volkswagens parked all over the lawn and the driveway, and it was just a mess there. But he was he collected and repaired and fixed up Volkswagen. Within a week, it was cleaned up. I mean, that, like what the mayor is saying, is getting the names attached to some of these properties, or that people know that their name is out there, or their property is being out in the public. Maybe you spur some of these. Most of these are probably absentee landlords anyway.
Yeah, this is public information. There's nothing secret about who these owners are. So it's just a time issue in doing the research to find out who they belong to. But
I thought I had it plugged.
we think it's important.
Absolutely.
It's important for the Greater Taft Economic Development Authority to let people know what's going on. This is the first step in attracting economic business to our community. We have to present ourselves in a way that people want to come. So I'm going to take up a few more minutes if there's no further questions. I just want to remind you that the chamber is up and running, and we have our event schedule in place. We will have our Cinco de Mayo celebration on Cinco de Mayo. For those of you that don't know, that's the 5th of May. We will have our car show the second weekend in June, as we usually do. That's June 7th and 8th. We are going to have fireworks this year. We're well on our way to being able to do that, and we're going to be having some out-of-the-box fundraising that's going to be pretty much fun. The fireworks show will be Wednesday the 3rd. That's the night before the 4th of July. And we will have the community picnic, as usual, on the 4th of July on the Rails to Trails. Our golf tournament is slated for September 21st. That date kind of moves around, but that is the tentative date now. Oktoberfest will be the first weekend in October. The Trout Fishing Derby will be November 16th, or when the county says we can have it.
When is it? November?
We're hoping it's November 16th.
November 16th.
Mm-hmm. And of course, our Christmas parade is the first Monday night in December. Farmers Market is going to be changed this year. We're having it June, July, and August, and it will be held at the Chamber lot. We feel there will be more visibility there. And when we started planning it this year, we had 2 farmers that were willing to come. We have let them know that we have a new format and that it's going to be at this, at the corner of Kern and 4th. We now have 7 vendors. Wow. So we're hoping that they feel the visibility is much more important for them. Of course, we'll do cruising on the first Friday, and I wanted to let everybody know that we are the official ticket seller for the High School Hall of Fame banquet, and that is April 27th. So I know people are a little reluctant to go through a much more secure high school campus. And if you come to the chamber, you can secure your tickets there. We are authorized to sell tickets to the Hall of Fame banquet. So we're busy as usual. Thank you for this time.
Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, before we proceed, can I ask for just a couple of minute adjournment?
We're having a technology problem.
I'm having a technology problem here.
Yeah. Yes, we'll recess for about 5 minutes while Mr. Miller gets a charger.
Good. The more the merrier, and the sooner the better.
All right, we will continue on with our business of the evening. Item number 3 is council statements, non-action, and I believe it's Mr. Cryer's turn.
It's always my turn.
No, I'm going to Walter last time.
Okay. Well, great. I'd like to thank a lot of people here. I don't know if I can mention names or anything, but we have a lot of cleanup in town here. You know, the tree is gone. I don't know if I can mention the person who took the tree because I don't know the whole story behind it, but that tree there has a nuisance to the school because guys go up there and climb up there and look down at the kids in the playground, and no matter what they're thinking or what their plans are, but that nuisance has been taken care of. I hope it's not a historical tree because it's going to get in trouble, but
Too late.
It's been around for a long time.
It's history now.
Definitely history.
I think Ben Franklin planted it.
But anyway, Richard Couch, Supervisor Couch has done an excellent job on the west side trying to take care of nuisance properties, and he made it a goal that he wanted to make sure things happen. He's doing it. And right now he's at 80 properties in the county area that have been posted already to take care of it. It's not that we're out there pointing fingers at anybody or trying to make anybody look bad or anything. That all those properties are our gateway into the city of Taft, and they're nuisance to the kids. Man, get hurt, fires, catch fire. If somebody's home is living in there and they're having to be in there in a fire and get killed or burnt or worse, you know, and who's liable for it? You know, because we're supposed to take care of our properties and make sure they're abated. But I just want to give recognition to Supervisor Couch for all the work he's done, and to our own code enforcement here in town, trying to take care of things what we can, because it's not cheap. Every time we take care of property, it's money out of our general fund or reserves. We go ahead and get it all taken care of. And we can only do so much. If we did all of them at one time, it would deplete our reserves. But we get the ones that are most noticed and do the biggest punch, and especially the ones that come in the town. And I just want to give kudos to Bob Hampton, Gorilla Construction, with him working with the Mohawkins and clean up on the cities, cleaning the roads and highways, and all the great things he's doing, and other citizens here. I know Rotary's been out there in the highways. I give a little kudos to the Rotary. I'm president of the Rotary, so I need to say that. And a lot of great things are happening, and I'm really proud of that. And a lot of times they clean it, and about a week or two later, you don't notice it. And that's an unfortunate fact of life. We just need to, when we do get clean things up, it'd be nice if somebody watch, if they see anybody littering or anything, tell that guy to pick it up, or where you can, and take notice of it, or pick up yourself, keep the city clean, because there's a lot of hard work getting people to go out there and do the work, and there's even more satisfaction that it stays clean. That's all I have to say, but I just want to thank everybody in keeping this town a better place to live.
Thank you, Mr. Cryer. Mr. Knorr.
You know, I'm going to reserve my comments for a little bit later. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Understood. Mr. Miller?
Thank you. Last Thursday evening, there was a healthcare district public meeting, and quite a few attendees. I think we had nearly 80 people there that night, and we're discussing the issues of healthcare on the west side and what the healthcare district is doing, and the issues of whether or not the city will be able to support a hospital or not. And that doesn't look like that's in the near horizon, but the healthcare district has finally saved up some money to be able to actually tear down the existing hospital and create a campus, a medical healthcare campus. And what they're asking the citizens on the west side is, what do we need over here? What kind of healthcare issues that you have that would convenience you if we had the services here? Doesn't mean we'll never have a hospital. And this hospital, even if we tried to reopen it, it would be better off to build a new facility, because this facility is over 70 years old. It's totally and completely out of compliance. All the once it got closed and the state signed off on it, all the grandfathered things that were over there are gone. So, but they're working on new cooperation with what's this? They had a van over here yesterday.
Kaiser?
Kaiser, yes. I'm sorry. A little showing my age here. Kaiser's got a van here. We're trying to do some things that are out of the box, and this is first of, I hope, many public meetings that the healthcare district will put on with the new foundation, that healthcare foundation that is being championed by the Rotary Club. And we'll just see where this is all going to take us. So it was refreshing to see the outpouring of folks that came that night, and hopefully the tax dollars that we're all supporting through property taxes, the healthcare district, and they're working diligently to put those monies to good use. One of the things that they're going to, was loud and clear, was the expansion of hours of the urgent care, and they're going to be working on those issues very shortly. So it was a good meeting, with some good news, and we'll see where we go from there. The second thing is, I'm sad to report that probably a 50-plus year relationship with the Taft Kiwanis Club and the Little League has come to pass. This year, the Little League board has decided not to have a pancake breakfast, and Kiwanis Club has put that pancake breakfast on those many years and donated all the proceeds less the costs back to the Little League, and it raised anywhere from slowly years $3,500 up to $6,000 a year. what was kind of sad is that the Little League board made the decision and then let one of our, and I happen to be a Kiwanis Club member, proudly of 33 years, let one of our members know that that was the decision they made. And without coming to the Kiwanis Club or having Kiwanis Club board members or our president attend their meeting and maybe come up with some other alternative ways of the Kiwanis Club supporting Little League. So, and I know our club, the Kiwanis Club, will continue to do their best efforts to support Little League on the west side. But I'm just here to let you know tonight that if you're looking for breakfast in April on a Saturday, we'll no longer have pancakes and sausage for you. So, again, just one of those things that's come to an end, and maybe it's made its run, and maybe we need to come up with some new ideas out of the box. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Waldrop.
I keep saying it, but I'm real proud of Supervisor for doing what he's doing and all the people working with him and around him. But I think he's the spearhead is getting it started. He come to my shop before he was elected, and I told him he needs to do something on the west side and a few things. And I'll tell you what, he's making me proud, and can't say enough about him. And as far as the highway cleanup, there's a lot of service clubs, Lions, Rotary, Kiwanis,
Optimus.
Mr. Optimus, and I think there's a few others that doesn't come to my mind. They got certain times to go out and clean the road. We need to get a hold of everybody, because they should do it at least twice a year. For our, no excuse for us, but we got that area where they're doing all the highway work, and so we're not out there until they're through, and I think we can go out there and do a little bit now.
You guys are doing a great job.
Yeah,
too,
we
I might
are.
add. Widening the shoulders.
Yeah.
And
But anyway, that's a good point. We need to get a hold of all of them, and you never know, we might be able to organize certain times where everybody's out there at once, and it really looks sharp and really look really good. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you.
Mayor, one more comment,
Yes,
tag on to
please.
Councilman Waldrop, is the chamber has a sign out there on Highway 119 as you're coming to Taft, and it's right by the gas station out there, and it says Highway Cleanup, Taft Chamber of Commerce. So I don't know if the chamber's doing any cleanup out there, but you have a sign out there, so.
And we are.
And I've been informed that we are doing cleanup out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I think the theme today is cleanup. One of the things that I wanted to let the folks know is that the Kern Council of Governments is kind of the clearinghouse for transportation funds throughout the county. And at the last meeting, we voted, and I sit on that board, I might mention. We decided that there's a little bit extra funding in the Kern Motorist Aid Authority account. That money comes into the Kern Council of Governments through a $1 per vehicle registration fee that anybody in Kern County operates a vehicle is paying that $1. So the money was originally slated to provide support, installation and support of all the call boxes throughout the County of Kern. Well, we asked that some estimates be given on the call box usage and the cost, and we received a report that due to everybody getting cell phones in the last 10 or 15 years, call box usage by all means has gone down. And right now, if you pick up one of those call box phones and makes a phone call, it averages out to about $78 per call. So it's probably one of those things that's slowly but surely coming to an end. But anyway, to get on with the highway cleanup, there's been a little bit of a surplus in this fund, which is okay. But what they've decided to do, or was requested by some folks that live in the Tehachapi and Bakersfield area, that some of that funding be diverted and used for highway cleanup, which is a great idea. I mean, it certainly fills the need of highway safety, because you know when you run over a chunk of rubber or a piece of pipe in the road, there's a chance that it could either hurt you or somebody else. The one thing that I disagreed with is they wanted it solely for Highway 99 and 58 through Bakersfield. Well, I feel that people in Taft, Wasco, Shafter, Tehachapi, Arvin also drive automobiles, and so some of that money should also be distributed throughout the entire county if possible. And my recommendation was that we find local groups that can do highway cleanup on even county roads and somehow supplement them. Right now they're looking at the Bakersfield Homeless Shelter, hiring folks out of the homeless shelter to go out and do highway cleanup through Bakersfield, which is noble. I understand that. But I sometimes question whether folks that are in a homeless shelter need to be burdened with doing something like that too. Counterproductive, because we've lost the prisoners. We don't have that option. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that it sounds like everybody's getting tired of the garbage, and that's a good thing. So we're going to keep working on that. Speaking of Kern Council of Governments, this Thursday night the regional awards will be presented, and I just wanted to recognize Mr. Randy Miller. He'll be receiving the Darrell Hildebrand Regional Award of Merit for an elected official. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I should know that. And I just wanted to say congratulations. There's nobody more deserving.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Hope you had a chance to give blood. For those of you watching TV yesterday, I hope you had a chance to give blood yesterday. I gave it today, but you're seeing this tomorrow. So, and then segueing on to County Supervisor Couch, somebody has got to find a way to bottle and market Mark Salvaggio. That man is a ball of fire. He just, I don't know, I just know it's his personality, but whatever he's got going, I wish I could get a 2-ounce shot of it. So he is really supportive of the West Side and getting these things done, and to hear 80 homes have been earmarked in the county already. So that's incredible. So that's all I had. We will move on to department reports. I see our planning director, Mr. Weiss, is heading this way.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Mike Wages, planning director. It's been a while since I got up here and gave you a report, so I thought it was time to fill you in on some of the things going on in my department. Everybody's always curious about when new businesses open, and we have Popeyes right now and Family Dollar that are nearing an opening. Both of them think that they're looking at maybe a mid-April opening. Okay. Family Dollar people reported last week that they are stocking their store. So I guess it takes a long time to stock your store, but anyway. And the Popeyes people is waiting for their permit so they can finish their interior. So, and they've gone through Planning Commission. The Pizza Hut folks have been harder to chase down, because we want them to come before the commission at least. And the issue there mainly is just that they might try to change the color of the building, and we want to talk about that. So we're still trying to get a hold of them. On other things, and you were just talking about Mark Salvaggio, we met with him a couple times on doing some better signs along 119 and 33, and he had no trouble facilitating a meeting with Caltrans and getting Caltrans people to agree to do most anything that they can for us. The Caltrans guy sent us basically a recommendation and said, what do you think? And he's talking about putting signs right in front of Kern as you be traveling south that would have the gas, food, and lodging and the arrow pointing towards Kern. And then the same thing as you're traveling north on 33 at the fork where 33 and 119 split, putting a sign just in front of that so people would be naturally drawn, if they're looking for gas, food, and lodging, into the city, the 33 way rather than flying by. So we've also looked at signs out further north because there's a whole bunch of signs that are kind of confusing, and Caltrans has made an offer that they will remove some of the signs that existing that just say Taft this way or Ford City this way, and give us a sign that shows us a clear split. This way on Harrison Street is Ford City, and this way you get to Taft, so that we would direct people towards the either the Kern or the 33. And then also a sign as you start going over the hill, before you reach Midway, which would say Taft this way, because you get to that hill and you're really unsure where you're going at that point. So, and some other good things, and basically anything that we can ask them for that they can do that's legal for them, they'll do for us. So we're going to get some good signs out there. And Kathy Oren has been instrumental in this. I think she mentioned it, but this has been going on since I assumed this position, and it's very exciting, really, to see that we're getting this far along. Just a couple of quick other things. I received, just as an FYI, received an inquiry, a couple of phone calls and some emails from a company in New Jersey that wants to put a cell tower somewhere near or behind the Albertsons Commercial Center. And they had me send an application to them, so I assumed that they're serious, that they would be submitted that application and we would get another cell tower. So he wouldn't tell me the company, though, so I don't know. Let me see, Planning Commission meeting tomorrow. I think the council's aware that the commission addressed the issue of non-conforming uses on Center Street, where we have businesses being occupied, businesses basically converted into residences. I talked to the commission attorney this afternoon for about a half hour, and because he was asked to give an opinion, his opinion is going to be that this matter be brought to you. That it is not, that it's significant enough that and beyond the commission's responsibilities enough that he wants to take his opinion. He's going to come and tell the commission that, and then he wants to pass that along to the council for council consideration. So we will be bringing that to you as soon as we can. And then finally, I think I don't know if Lon's made a little report on this, but I'm excited about the fact that we're finally getting to the point where we have our website being floated up with stuff that people are recommending. From planning, I just sent on my forum today. And one of the things I think is really good is that at least on the planning site, we're going to have the general plan, we're going to have the zoning ordinance as hot links, the subdivision ordinance. The Planning Commission will have their own area that you can hot link into, and you get the agendas and the minutes and the resolutions. And of course, our universal form for applying for whatever entitlement you want will be on there, and a hot link to the Enterprise Zone website. So we're getting close, and it's been one of those things that it's been kind of a long time coming, but it is coming. So, and Lon, I guess you can talk more about that. That would conclude my report, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I have a question for you. Do you have any good news about the hotel coming in town?
Well, yeah, actually, I do. And I was wondering whether or not the council wanted to hear about that tonight. But the planning department received an application today, a formal application for site plan review for the hotel on 6th and Main. And I brought, just in case you asked that question, I brought the site plan, the basic plot plan, I should say, that they submitted so that you can, and Louise, I'll give this to you. Walk right through the wall. So you can see that. And just very briefly, it's a Best Western with 60 guest units, swimming pool, just basic amenities. I believe we're talking about a 3-story structure, and the applicant, and we haven't met with the applicant in a few weeks, but I know that the applicant is very interested in moving as fast as possible on this project. So I suspect that as fast as we can get this site plan approved by the Planning Commission, that they'll try to move forward and do what they need to do to get it. Time is money to them, so they're going to try to get it on the ground as fast as possible.
I had a carrier pigeon come and deliver the news to me. And
pardon me?
I got news from a carrier pigeon down in Imperial Valley. So
oh, okay.
I found out.
Yeah, well, I was being coy because I thought, well, I wasn't sure, but since you asked, yes, they have submitted, and it couldn't be better news, really. I think it's a great project.
I understand they're going to start as early as August, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I understand too. Mm-hmm. As fast as they can. You know, I guess there's a big, I don't understand the financing, but I know that they petition and they wait around and wait around and wait around, and all of a sudden when somebody says they're going to fund them, they move as fast as they can. So, and that's happening. So.
Well, this is going to be one of those anchor projects for the Rails to Trails property going, the Sunset Rails, and nobody would disagree that we need a few more motel rooms in this town, especially with some of the events that are coming up. So this is good news. Whatever we need to do to keep it on track, that's what we'll do.
And the other thing, too, just very briefly, is that the plan is, and I won't name names, the plan is, of course, to have an adjacent restaurant. So it's a good thing.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
All right. City manager statements. Mr. Boyer, I know this is new to you, and if you have any statements, that's fine. If you don't, we understand that, too.
I do have a couple of statements.
Perfect.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. As Mr. Wages indicated a few moments ago, we are working on the website design and the concept plan. We're just about getting to the point where we're really putting the meat and potatoes behind the scenes. We have agreed upon a design, a template has been created for the site, and now it's just a matter of getting all the information out there and also getting all the behind-the-scenes stuff to work, so when somebody clicks a button and requests something, it comes right in. Some of the behind-the-scene features we did not have before, such as shopping cart online payments, being able to do fillable forms and so forth. That includes a little bit of work on the internal side, but other than that, looking forward to a very, very comprehensive website being online in the next few weeks. So we appreciate the city, the public's patience in us while we work through this process, but I think they'll find it be very, very well worth the wait here.
And could you, just so everybody knows,
Yes.
could you tell us what that website address is?
Yes, the website is cityoftaft.org, and that's all one word, cityoftaft.org.
Very good.
Thank you. The other item that's out there for people to know about is the California Department of Corrections, or CDCR, is putting out a request for proposals to look at our facility, as well as other facilities, to house some level 2 inmates, if I'm correct. And we plan on submitting our proposal to that for them. So that's coming up, and the police chief and his staff are going to be working on conjunction with the administration staff here and getting that proposal out in the next couple of weeks.
What does level 2 consist of?
Chief, could you answer their questions a little bit better?
There's 3 classifications of inmates in the state prison system. There's minimum, medium, and maximum. We originally housed minimum A and B. The next level up is medium 1 and 2s. They can go as high as 4 within the medium confines. Medium 1s and 2s are allowed to be in dormitory style settings and are still controllable enough not to have to be housed in single cells. Any higher than that classification, they require separate cells, sometimes shoe units, things like that. But we would be eligible for medium 1s and 2s in a dormitory style setting. That's what that means.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, pretty much concludes my comments, unless there's any other questions from council.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item 6, city attorney statements. Mr. Prentice.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Nothing tonight. Thank you. Item number 7 is future agenda requests. Is there any council member wishing to place an item on a future agenda? Mr. Cryer.
Yes, I'm consistent.
That's all right.
Seems like. There's out there in Tutman, there's a facility called HECA, and they make a plant there to do electricity and fertilizer and other things that comes out of the byproduct. They use coal and they gasify it without burning the coal. There's no burning of the coal, but they use gasification to extract the gases from it. And it's one of the newest plants, in fact, be the first one in the whole world of like that nature. It's supposed to be the safest plant of operation. And as usual, you have the Sierra Club, fighting environmentalists and going after, not want it there. And the same thing, like I was going to school, we go through Earth Day and all that stuff, try to do the wind energy, the solar energy being clean. Can't have nuclear because it might contaminate, be glow in the dark. Can't have coal because the soot and all the other stuff, and they all promote all the clean energy stuff, and so all this stuff comes to pass. We get the solar and the wind energy, and now this new technology is more efficient than supposedly the wind and solar, and cleanest, and it won't kill any birds. I understand from the wind turbines, but anyway. They're against it. You know, I think they don't get along among themselves. You know, instead of being part of the solution, they want to be the problem. You know, they wait to you spend $450 million for the plant, and then they go ahead and raise hell. I can use that word, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You did.
But anyway, when the plant's fully done, it's going to be $4.5 billion for that facility. So some of the arguments they have is that they were about 300 plus trucks go in and out. Well, I can mention several industries in agriculture that'll do 400 to 500 trucks in and out per day. So I don't see it as a problem. And as you know, the highways here, I don't know how many thousands per day of vehicles going down this road. What's $300 shouldn't be a tractor plus a day. It shouldn't be that much of a problem. But I'd just like to look at the jobs it bring, the tax base, and especially our hotels, because it's going to take about 2.5 years to build it, and it's going to employ about 2,500 people to construct it. Plus, after it's all done, about 250 people permanent jobs there, and what better place for them to live here in Taft. It'll also be good for Tutman too, because in Tutman, I know there's some people there that are reluctant to have it there, but there's nothing there. No restaurants, no stores, no gas stations. With the economy to that town there, plus the tax base for the school there. I mean, that so much money to that school would be first class.
If I can't interrupt you, and I apologize for this, but we need to agendize this. It's turning into a discussion.
No, I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm almost there. But I was like,
I guess you got to move a little bit quicker.
I know. I'm kind of passionate because I'm so much in for businesses. I like to see Kern County is one of the few counties in California that permit businesses. And my question I would like to do is have a resolution in support of that project from the city of Taft to our supervisor's office so he can pass it along to the proper, I don't know how that would, authorities. But my question I have, I kind of wonder why in the heck they want to build a plant in California. That's the worst place I think I would want to put all that money in there with all the rules and regulations and things you got to go through. You know, I just don't understand. But you know, if you say pick Kern County, I'm happy with that, and it's close to Taft, and I think it'd be great. Thank you.
So your agenda request is a resolution of support for the hydrogen energy plant that's proposed for the Tutman area.
That is correct.
I'll concur.
We have concurrence.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Miller.
sometime back, you had asked for a time to have a commendation for Mr. Heber and Mr. Fields from the high
Yes.
school. Is that still in the works?
That is still the intent, and we have a very small committee that's going to get together and discuss how to do that appropriately. And you know, there was one other item, and if I may back up, gentlemen, to council statements I needed to report on. The last meeting, we had reported that PG&E was possibly going to close their local maintenance yard and possible their office. And since the letter was drafted and sent to PG&E, and it hit everybody at PG&E, because I was told in a meeting on Monday that we had that even the president of the company got a copy of the letter and wanted it taken care of. So we got their attention. We met Monday. Craig Jones and I met with two representatives from PG&E. They have assured us that there is no closure, either short-term or long-term, of the PG&E maintenance yard here in Taft or the office, and that they've just temporarily reassigned some of the folks from the Taft maintenance yard into the Bakersfield area because they have a huge backlog of projects they're trying to get done. Taft is right now not doing a whole lot, so they're pulling all their resources in to get their backlog taken care of. And we were assured that by the end of the first quarter, which I believe is the end of March, that those crews will start filtering back to Taft and once again be stationed here, and that there is no immediate or long-term goal to close down the plant. And they also assured us that if that should ever come to fruition, that they would approach the city council long before it happens. So I wanted to thank PG&E for their prompt action on that, and turns out that maybe it was just a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction to crews working out of the normal area. So thank you to PG&E, and I apologize that I didn't get that on. So, and now I got to figure out where we were. Okay, so item number 8. Oh, I'm sorry. We're on to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the City Council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Items tonight are the minutes of February 19th regular council meeting, payment of bills. Item number 10, AB 1234 ethics training class. Item number 11, police dispatcher vacancy. Item number 12, accept bid from Griffith Company for the 10th Street Rehabilitation Project. Item 13, yearly transit unmet needs hearing. Item 14, Taft Public Finance Authority Series 1997A bond issue. 15 is obsolete equipment disposal. 16 is purchase of ammunition and firearms parts. Item number 17 is the police department is requesting the consignment to sell 17, I won't say obsolete, but unused 12-gauge shotguns to 10% firearms in Taft, California. My understanding that is a consignment sale. We're simply giving them to a gun dealer. He'll dispose of the guns and then we'll get money for them. And then item number 18 is recognized obligation payment schedule 13-14A, ROPS 13-14A, July 1st, 2013 through December 31st, 2013 to the Taft Successor Agency. Okay, gentlemen, is there anybody wishing any of the items on the consent calendar to be removed?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to remove the minutes, item number 8, please. Or I can just abstain from the minutes.
You may just abstain.
Okay, that'll be fine then. Thank you.
Anything else, gentlemen? Very good. And then at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar, items 8 through 18.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. No discussion. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldrop?
Yes.
Councilmember North?
Yes, and I'll abstain from item number 8, please. I was not here.
Mayor Miller?
How about Mayor Linder? Old habits die hard, Louise. Trust me, it's okay.
Hard to let go.
And it's more than okay. I shouldn't have called you out on that, but somebody would have. Thank you. Okay, item number 19, Taft Successor Agency decrease in anticipated revenue. Mr. Boyer.
Okay, the City of Taft elected to become the successor agency to continue redevelopment projects within our community and retain interest in the railroad property. But since the RDA dissolutions and changes within the redevelopment area, it has become apparent that there is a lack of revenue to cover all necessary current expenditures for fiscal year 2012-13 and for upcoming fiscal year 2013-2014. There were two prime factors that decreased the anticipated revenue. First, when the city acquired the railroad property that removed the property from the tax roll, and second, due to the changes in the law, low mod funds, which were paying up 20% of the bond debt, is no longer allowable. The decrease in revenue is approximately $160,000. The Health and Safety Code, subsection 34173H, includes other loans between the sponsoring entity and successor agency for administrative costs, enforceable obligations, or project-related expenses as reported on the ROPS and approved by the Oversight Board. The City Council will need to consider creating a loan to pay for enforceable obligations of the successor agency due to decrease in revenue. And this item is for discussion only.
I know Teresa Statler, the Director of Finances of the City of Taft is available for comments, but basically this is
You say Statler.
did I say Statler? See? It rubs off. I apologize, Teresa. And Buddy's sitting right there next to you. Call me out. It's okay. Teresa Binkley is here. But my understanding is this is ongoing incurred cost for the, basically the shutdown of the RDA and the successor agency continuance. Is that correct? That we're going to have to loan money to again. She's going to say it a lot better than I did.
Well, I attached kind of a summary sheet behind, or the first page of your agenda, kind of explaining the revenues and what personnel costs are being allocated. Currently, the community development planner, Mike Waychess, none of his salary is being allocated there because when we did the, originally the 2012 budget, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Now that's more increased, eventually for the 13-14 fiscal year, we're going to have to, he's spending more of his time, and it's not really appropriate for general fund to be paying for when he has, activities associated with that. Also with the RDA, you have audit costs, we have an attorney, personnel costs, you have overhead costs and things like that. They're kept to a minimum, but there are costs. These are costs that have to be paid for. If the council chooses not to do a loan, unfortunately, these costs are going to have to be paid for, and there's not sufficient revenue to pay. And we have to pay the bond debt. So to at least try to have the ability for us to recover those, the council and the successor agency, we're going to have to do a loan to cover the cost that there's not enough sufficient revenues for the city and the successor agency to try to recover those costs. So here I brought this discussion item to inform council to discuss this, for us to see how we're going to handle this. Also, if the council and the successor agency chooses to, I'm going to have to bring, at the time that we determine that we're going to do this, it doesn't have to be at the next council meeting, but we're going to have to determine what the amount is. The amount that I have put here, the $156,749, was an estimate based upon a revised budget I had prepared to try to determine the amount. So at the time that we do a loan and we do the resolutions and the successor agency chooses to do a loan, we'll have to adopt a revised budget also for the RDA or the successor agency. Then that loan will have to be brought before the oversight board for the oversight board to deem that it is necessary and it is to pay for items that are listed on the enforceable obligation and then it'll be sent up to the Department of Finance to finally make it a true and enforceable obligation and have them approve it.
I told you she'd say it better than I could.
I don't know, I kind of feel like I stumbled through that, but
well, it's a kind of, and I don't mean to make light of it, but it's I know it's difficult for you, but it's basically, it's fairly simple. If we don't do this, we jeopardize everything we work forward to this point on. And we've got to jump through those remaining hoops in order to solidify the successor agency. So that's my take on it. Gentlemen, do you have any questions or comments? This is for discussion only.
If we don't do it, they take the land, so.
There you go.
In a sense, they could, yeah, I guess, but.
Rock and a hard spot.
That was the intent of the state. When we think back to what was going on with the dissolution of the RDAs, obviously, right along with that, the governor planned on offering all RDAs the opportunity to buy themselves back. And just to refresh everybody's memory, the court found that, yes, indeed, he did have the power to abolish RDAs, which he celebrated for, but then the court disagreed with him having the authority to to try to collect money for it. So he didn't win, we didn't win, everybody lost. It was a shell game, it was a scam coming right out of Sacramento, just another Sacramento scam amongst all the others, and it backfired. And what it does is it passes responsibilities and liabilities further and further down until they impact municipalities and special districts, and then here you are, here we go again. And then shortly thereafter, when that scam didn't work, then they thought, okay, well then fine, all the assets that were maintained by the RDAs just became state assets, which was the people of the city of Taft's property. Rails to Trails property that our tax dollars paid for. Then the state said, well, if you're not going to pay us for it, of course we already did pay for it. We paid the railroad for it. Then we're going to take it from you. So then we had to go through these hoops, and now we're having to pay admin costs. So that's how we got here. It's long and it's convoluted and it's difficult, and if you've ever been to a fair, that's how you lose sight of the P. They keep shifting the shells, and sooner or later you lose sight of the P. Well, we got a master shell swapper going on up there in Sacramento, and it's really hard, and it takes time and staff and money to keep track of the P. And this is a part of the puzzle. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Cryer?
I have to agree with Dave. It seems like every month we have to cover our CYA on this. Every month we have to do this, seems like, because of the state mandates and on our redevelopment. And it's costing us time, the city staff time, and our citizens here, our tax dollars. Trying to do what we can just to save our property and play, I guess, be in the game, I guess, a shell game. But we're keeping an eye on that walnut with a P in there. But we're keeping a close eye on it. But it's a tough task to do, and I have to applaud you for how we have to do to accomplish that. And so keep us informed and give us support.
Thank you. Mr. Waldron?
All I can say is thanks to our lawyer, he's keeping us in mind. Thank you.
Mr. Miller?
I have no comment.
One other thing I might point out is what you're presenting here is really a budget for the RDA, correct?
Yes.
And, well, to put it lightly, it's all on paper.
Yes.
It's not that we're sending money to the state or putting money away in an account. This is just to cover the cost that the city staff is expending to basically close the RDA and work on the successor agency.
Yeah, but we're not necessarily closing the RTA because the RDA was dissolved January 31st, and now the new entity is the successor agency.
Right.
I went to Oakland the February 19th through the 22nd to California Society of Municipal Finance Officers. Actually, it was rather interesting. One of the sessions was the speaker was the Department of Finance in regards to successor agencies. Oh, that was an interesting one. He started off the PowerPoint and saying this is what you need to do and this is what's going on, and he went on, but then people started having these questions, and next thing you know, it was a free-for-all in there. And he kept going, I'm sorry. He goes, I am just enforcing the law. Unfortunately, if you don't like the law, you need to try to get the law changed. And it was very amusing because the gentleman that was giving the conference there, or giving the session, was actually the gentleman that when we went up to the Department of Finance that we did our the City of Taft did the meet and confer with. So I talked to him a little bit about about our loan between the city and there is a possibility that they're going to recognize it as an enforceable obligation. But when are we going to get paid? We're getting $300,000 and some thousand. Our bond debt that we have for the previous RDA, which is now the successor through the Taft Public Financing Authority, goes through January 2028. So it's a long time coming. But in the bright side, the railroad property gets developed, and it gets off of the cities into the property tax rolls, more tax revenue to help pay that bond debt and have additional monies for admin, and then to start paying back the city. So, but it will be a long time, and it does look it doesn't look too bad, but we need to get that, a letter stating that they will recognize that as an enforceable obligation. We have some few steps to complete before we can get that letter, so we're working on that. The finance department is. Also, San Francisco and a few other redevelopment agencies are actually still doing projects, but they're actually getting debt financing through Melrose District, so they're doing different type of financing. So they're actually still continuing projects and doing different things. Originally, when the RDAs were dissolved, they were supposed to, this process that we're going through, supposed to only last 3 years. I don't foresee it, the state taking over all these bond debts and all this work. I don't know, as of right now, that's what they say, but there are actually, I think, 70 RDAs that actually have dissolved and turned over their bond debt over to the state and just have walked away, but those would be agencies that don't have anything going on. If the city hadn't acquired the property, that would have been my recommendation at the time, just let them take care of our bond debt and get out. But we have the property, so we're in it for the long haul.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, gentlemen?
None, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Binkley.
No problem.
All right, moving on to item number 20, the Taft District Chamber of Commerce sponsorship. Mr. Boyer.
Attached is an invoice from the Taft District Chamber of Commerce for sponsorship in the amount of $10,000. Last fiscal year, the city was a platinum sponsor. However, this item was not included in the fiscal year 2012-2013 budget due to budget constraints. This item's before you is discussion only.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. I had the opportunity to have a chat with Kathy Oren, the director of the Chamber of Commerce, and we talked about this very item. We need to talk about this because it was not included on the current budget. I believe it wasn't included because of our financial woes, and Mrs. Oren was very understanding of that. She realizes that the city plays a big part in the Chamber of Commerce because of the TOT tax, and that we want to continue our relationship with the Chamber because it's a very good relationship with the Chamber. So, gentlemen, this is really just to talk about what we can and what we should and what you want to do. So, I'll open it up to you.
When you had budget committee meeting, was this pulled by staff, pulled by the consensus with the members, or what happened here?
We were looking at some really big dollar items, so I'm not sure we, what happened to it.
Well, last year it was not included on the budget last fiscal year either. It was an item that Councilmember Dave Knorr brought to the Finance Committee and asked for us to join. So so it's not an ongoing thing. So again, it's being brought forth and asked if you want to continue this item. So, I mean, other items that were budgeted for the chamber, like the TOT and things that have been an ongoing thing. This was just something that was brought, and then now it's, do you want to continue?
Okay, so this has never been part of the big picture of the budget. It's just an invoice that we get for sponsorship.
Well, I mean, this is the first year we got an invoice. I mean, we got an invoice last year after Councilmember Knorr brought it to the Finance Committee and asked it to be placed on there. Right. So. And we have another invoice for this current year. Yeah, since we had done it last year, it's understandable that they send out to their people that joined to say, do you want to join again? So now it's being brought to you. Since we did get an invoice earlier in the year, but since we were going through budget discussions and we had all these things going on, I had to call and tell them that we're going to have to set this aside right now until we determine what we're going to do on our budget. And so now I'm bringing it forth, since we have approved the budget, for you to decide what you want to do.
So this is a budget for the budget year 2013-14?
No.
This is a state or an invoice for our current budget of sponsorship to the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out where it's landing. So it's landing in this budget.
Kathy, didn't you tell me this is typically a July to June thing?
We have adjusted our billing to the city because of your budget year. The last time we received money was in September of 2011,
11.
and that was for the 2011-12 year. So this would be really for the 2012-13 year. So we have adjusted to accommodate the way that your budget goes. I have to tell you, I kind of was hoping that we would at least be worthy of discussion at the finance level. And we have come to see you as a partner. We do not want to see your sponsorship go below the platinum level. Right. We see this as a pretty big deal for us as a chamber, and we think we're a pretty big deal for you as a city. So we think it's pretty mutually beneficial. We do understand, however, that there are budget issues, and we know that. We would like to see the funding to the chamber at the $10,000 level, with perhaps some kind of a schedule, perhaps, of payment. But I do feel that it's important for us to be recognized as important Absolutely. To you. But that's where the most businesses are funded on the year 2013. They pay us in January, and they're good for the year. We have made the adjustment for the city because of the way your budget goes, and that's why it is perhaps a little confusing.
Okay, so what we need to do is, number one, for discussion, we need to decide if we're going to continue the sponsorship, discuss a level of sponsorship, and then I guess since it's discussion only, we'll have it back for another agenda item, because then we will have to take money out of general reserve funds to do this, because it's not a budgeted item. So, suggestions, comments, gentlemen?
I'll go ahead and start off on the comment end, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Just to let everybody know, we talked about budget woes, and in the Finance Committee meetings, the finance level, we have had to task our staff with going way beyond tightening our belts. We have masters of multitasking roaming the hallways of City Hall, as well as in the police department, and I mean giving up above and beyond in order to get rid of the red ink. That's the only way we could do it, and the only way we could do it is every staff member, every employee bought into the fact that we have got to get ourselves on solid footing, financial footing. It is not easy. I brought this item before the Finance Committee last year, and the committee and the council agreed to it at that point in time, but certain other issues have come to light, and there just is not that much money out there. And we also tasked staff with coming up with a budget that will be spot on for next year. We cannot dip into reserves anymore. We cannot do it. And the curveballs that keep coming at us, you can only duck so many curveballs. You're going to get hit sooner or later, and you had better have something. And we talked about it at length, and we all came to agreement on the fact that there was a certain level we will not drop below in order to safeguard the financial well-being and security of this city and everybody who works for this city. And we're there now. I will tell you that right now. We are there right now. And I truly believe that the city and the chamber are partners. We are finally getting some things moving forward. The hotel being one of them, along with many others. Housing hopefully going to take place on Hillard, and we need the roofs to support retail. So some of the pieces are finally coming together. The healthcare delivery system by the healthcare district is improving. We're trying to get the fireworks show back in the city of Taft, and the chamber has taken that on. All of these things are good things. So it's difficult for me to say, but I will tell you, based on the discussions that we've had to have with staff, I personally would not recommend taking money out of reserves for this at this time, and that is a difficult step to take. But in these times, we've already asked staff to make difficult decisions and make sacrifices daily. And unfortunately, we might have to do that this time ourselves. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Knorr. Mr. Cryer, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. A Chamber of Commerce is like a lifeblood of the city. They're the pulse. They bring in, they're the ambassadors. New business come to town, they come to their office, get the information, and they pass it on to the city. They're out there in the front doing the job. And I just hate to see that we cut back in support of them. I wish we could give more than $10,000. I think we can get more out of them, but it is tough to, this time, you know, our budget's the way it is. But like I said, give them, they find it somewhere we can give us something, if we give a little bit, and if things get better, maybe fulfill our obligation for the board. But I just don't want to cut the chamber off altogether. I know they're getting TOT tax, but they do an awful lot out there. I watch these ladies out there promoting and working their behinds off. Trying to be polite here, but you know, they're really out there busting. They're, you know, doing a great job. You know, and I appreciate what they do. I hope I won't get in trouble. I had a long drive, forgive me. But you know, they do a lot for us, and I think they're deserving of something to help out. Especially with the motels and all the new restaurants coming to town, and with hopefully with that new plant in Tutman, there'll be an awful lot of restoring them to come to Taft to eat and lodging, and hopefully use our different business that we have here to supply them with the parts and the building material and different things. I think I see a boom coming here. I know it's tough. I know our budget is hard to take out of our general fund to $10,000, but maybe we see it somewhere along the way. We can help out sometime in the near future. Thank you.
Mr. Waldrop?
It's a rough decision. Chamber does a lot of good work. We need them. They need us. Everybody wants to help everybody. But as both the other councilmen has already said, it's tough. I mean, it's just like a business. When business is down, you have to do what it takes to recover. And I've even had a couple of bad years and had to readjust to bring my business back. And business is good now, but I'm still not caught up. So I have to suffer to do what I got to do. And just like all the employees that they gave up, I think it's going to benefit everybody down the road because times are going to get better. But it's tough. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Well, I'm surprised and disappointed that the budget for this item is not a line item budget in our budget. I didn't realize that it wasn't. I'm sad that we're having this conversation. I've always felt, even because, you know, I worked there, but I've always been a champion of the chamber. And I know how hard it is for them to continue to fundraise and raise money. But I've always felt that the Chamber of Commerce is a department of the city. And it's just like any other department, and you know, they've had to cut back, and we've asked our employees to cut back, and we've asked everybody to cut back. But to cut them back completely and chop them off when we're asking them to represent our community and champion the city of Taft and be there when developers come and be there when motel people come and people that come in and don't want to let people know they're in town, but they want to talk to in privately with chamber folks and, you know, find out what the pulse of the community is. And this is what we're asking them to do. They're working on the signage. They're working with the David Couch's office. They work with our state representatives, and they work with Kevin McCarthy's office. And I don't know, if we can't do 10,000, we've got to do something, I believe. But just to say, well, see you next year, maybe. We do have some reserves, and I don't think either $5,000 or $10,000 is too much to ask. So I'm in favor of something if we can agree. But I'm not in favor of completely cutting them off.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is one time I'm glad I get to go last, because I would agree with everything that's been said. But I think what I would ask, and with council concurrence, that Finance Department take a look and see how we're doing. Come back, yeah, I know, I see the head shaking already. And perhaps provide us with a report. If it's a general reserve, then we probably need to look at a different amount of money. But I agree with Mr. Miller. We can't just cut them off. There's too many things going on right now, and but we also have to make sure the city stays whole and healthy. Because if we're not healthy this year, we're going to be worse next year, which it's just the inevitable, I think. So.
Well, Mrs. Oren made a suggestion that we might be able to work out some sort of payment, some now and look at as July comes forward, and and we could do a catch-up or something if times does do better.
And that was going to be my suggestion, somewhere around the May result.
But just for me, just to tell them no, I think that would be an awful message from the city council to the chamber.
Maybe we look at our May revise, and if our budget is holding as we have kind of planned it, where we've overestimated some of our expenses and underestimated some of our revenue, maybe it'll. Did I say that backwards? We overestimated expenses and underestimated revenue?
That's what we want, Mr. Mayor.
Wow, I thought we were going back to... Anyway, I think my comment is, and based on your gentleman's comments, that we're going to look at this some more.
Is it we can bring it back again next meeting?
We can bring it back anytime you'd like. I just want to give staff a chance, to breathe into this and see what we can do. Okay? I don't know, is the next meeting too soon? Do you want a month? Well, like you don't have anything else to do, huh?
I can do it. I can do a quick little financial to present. I did take a kind of look at it the other day, but I need to examine sales tax receipts because, and then I got to look at what we purchased in capital projects like the rails to trails. But when I looked at it, it was still $1 million upside down at this time. But we still haven't received our second allotment of property tax. And it appeared that sales tax, we had only received it through November at this time. But when I annualized what we had received through November, my budget number is actually higher than what we would actually receive.
Yeah.
So I just have to take a look at what's going on.
Well, and I think, going down the same path, I think we've talked about the TOT tax, and perhaps that maybe it's being underfunded.
Well, you skipped over me on department reports. I got up and you missed me.
I apologize. Well, take your time.
Well, I didn't want to point that out. I didn't want to say anything.
No, I apologize.
I got up after Mike, but I guess Mike hid me.
Maybe that's what it was, because I did not see you get up. But if you want to take a few minutes, please do.
Next time, just yell out, "Hey, Mayor Miller, I need to talk to you."
Well, no, because Mayor Miller, yeah, that's funny.
It's Director Statler.
Lon had already started to speak, so I did not want to interrupt. But again, at the conference I went to, I have figured out I have not been going to training for the past couple of years because of budget constraints, and I'm going to tell you, I have found that I'm out of date. I have to go to some training here soon to get myself back up, because I learned that with one of the new accounting procedures, we're going to have to do an actuarial evaluation on our PERS, our unfunded liability, so we're going to have to hire somebody to do that. Also, the information in regards to the successor agency, I attended a half-day class on ways to do revenue, and I actually made some contacts and some people that do TOT audits. And in speaking to them and some other cities that were there, because we did 2 hours of lecture and 2 hours of evaluating a city and doing some networking, several years back, it was determined, I know that we had discussion at that community meeting we had gone to, that maybe an audit firm would do it for contingency. Well, there were audit firms that did those types of audits on contingency, but there was a lawsuit brought up, and it is no longer allowed for audit firms to do those types of audits on a contingency because they become where they have a financial interest in those audits.
Yes.
So that is not allowable anymore. I have gone on and got several little RFPs. So at the next council meeting, it was supposed to be on this one for us to discuss, but unfortunately I had several items plus the oversight board and a lot of the other things that I had to get on there that was one item I didn't. So on the next council meeting will be a request to go out for RFP for an audit firm to do the TOT. So that's where we stand on that.
Okay.
What you're saying is, again, auditor do the audit, and from there we find a collection company do the collection?
Huh?
As far as, you were saying that you couldn't have a conflict of interest, if, you know, you have like an auditor to go into the hotels and check the TOT tax, and they found who's in deficiency on that, and then we hired another company to do the collection, but we handed this over to
No.
use.
No. Audit firms, there's actually audit firms like our auditing firm that we use to do our financials, or there's other services like Muni Services, and there's other companies that specifically do types of audits for you. So you would contract with an audit firm to audit them. Once they determine, and they'll submit a report, basically is what I found, and say that there was these deficiencies and these issues, you would have to work out with we would have to work out with the hotels how they would repay us, and if it ends up being a large sum, what you could do, and we've done it before, is you know, if you can't work out, you can place a lien against their property for the amount that they owe.
The chamber, they're on a good momentum right now. I hate to kill the momentum, but the chamber's doing fine work. They're great, great work they're doing there, and it takes money to run a chamber. And I think we do that audit. If indeed we're only getting 25% affecting the TOT tax, if indeed that's correct, there's 75% more out there that we can pick up that would more than offset the liability with the chamber right now.
Well, and based upon some of the conversation I had, like say, and this is just an example, I have no clue what the proposals will come back at what dollar amount, but the conversation that I've had with a few is that, say, we audit and somebody owes us $40,000 and the audit costs us $20,000, then we'd have a net receivable of $20,000.
How far back can the audit go? Just the previous year? Or?
That I do not know. I've seen where some cities, and I've been conversating with like City of Goleta, City of San Francisco, I've been talking back and forth to their finance directors in regards to these audits, and I've seen where one audit firm actually requested 3 years. I'm not quite sure. These are things I'm going to have to figure out what, and I'm suspecting that maybe possibly, and we can discuss it with the audit firms, if they find deficiencies, I don't know if it's like a internal revenue type of audit, if they find deficiencies, if they can just keep going back or what the limits are on them. Also, in talking to Muni Services and some of the cities that have done that, along with doing the audit, they actually can, like I've been rewriting our TOT ordinance for the city and looking at other cities, and our TOT ordinance was apparently like a cookie cutter that all the cities, because I found some cities that were word for word like ours, and I've seen where some of them have been audited by grand juries and they've made suggestions, so I was making changes. Well, in the RFP for the audit, you can ask them to take a look at your ordinance and suggest suggestions so you can implement a new ordinance along with doing this all together too. And that's what I would suggest.
And the idea of an audit is not to, basically if a hotel or motel has collected TOT tax, that needs to come to the city, but there's some parts of the understanding of TOT is that once you hit 30 days and you're the same person, that goes away. My concern is to only collect TOT that's been collected. If they're shutting off their TOT after 30 days, then we wouldn't go after them for that TOT. But you know, I hate to do it because sometimes you spend $10 to save $5. But at least the first year, the first time we do this, it's going to educate those businesses and hopefully get things on the right track. Because I remember we had one that was some $20,000 or $30,000, $40,000 in TOT. That's TOT that was collected and somebody put it in their pocket. That's the stuff that bugs me the most. It's not after the 30-day mark and the TOT is no longer valid and they're not collecting it. That's a policy thing with them, whether they should have been collecting it or not. But if they're collecting it and putting it in their pocket, then I have a real issue with that because that's against the law.
Well, and that was, and that's the thing is you need to have a business owner running the hotel that knows how to run a business and a hotel with those kind of things, because basically any business you collect sales tax, you know, you collect a tax, but you're only a pass-through and you need to learn how to do accounting and how to run a business appropriately. But we were able to collect, see that hotel in particular, they were filing their TOT tax returns, so we knew how much they owed us. That was the good thing. And it was a significant amount that they were saying that they owed us. So they weren't, you know, I don't feel that they were shortchanging us, but they just said, so we charged them penalties and interest and all the good stuff and put a lien on their property, and now it, you know, when it was sold, we got all of our money, including all penalties and interest, and we're good to go.
Is it inappropriate for city staff to do the audit because we have a vested interest in the money?
No. We could do it, but unfortunately, I do not have the staffing because I've looked at all the steps that what you need to do, because you need to look at like their bank statements compared to what they actually took in, and there's a lot more than just going in there and looking at who's registering, and there is a lot to it. So. Okay.
Well, it sounds like we're going to see an RFP then.
Yeah, and then I have had a couple of questions asking, should we do this annually? I said, well, we need to find out, basically on our first audit, how it comes out. Are our hotel owners being truthful? If they are, well, you know, do you really want to do this annually? You know, determine spot checks or whatever. Some cities, larger cities, they do it annually.
I can believe it, yeah.
Plus, this isn't in the budget either, right?
No, it will be coming forth to you.
And did you not say also that we're going to have to get a separate independent audit of the PERS?
That's what I'm not sure what fiscal year it starts. It won't, I don't believe it starts this fiscal year. I'm thinking it starts next. That's something I have to, like I said, I am out of the loop. That's something I heard discussion on, but you have, not an audit, it's an actuarial evaluation, which checks the soundness of your, you know, your unfunded liabilities.
That's funny if that would be coming from the state. That is just a little bit ridiculous coming from a state that runs a PERS system, $500 million unfunded. They're going to cram an audit down our throat.
Yeah.
I just had to bring that up. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Any other questions, comments? Nope. Yes, Kathy. Thank you, Teresa. Again.
In regards to TOT tax, I met with every motel owner in our city 2 weeks ago. I went and checked out the motels. I checked out the availability, how soon they had cleaned, how soon they had refurbished, how soon they had replaced their mattresses, and I was very pleasantly surprised. But I have to tell you, as I talked to them, what I noticed was a less than forthcoming discussion about occupancy and the way that occupancy was done. And in one case I was told, well, if you're going to stay a long time, we'll give you a special deal, which of course I'm sure happens. But what I've been told on the other side of the table is that the key if the room is secured by a certain company, the key does not get turned into the office. The key given to the next person. So a lot of that occupancy tax is going through our fingers because there's one person on the books, but there have been a succession of people that have stayed in that hotel or motel. So it was a very interesting tour, if you will, but I learned a lot. I felt very good about the facilities, and I feel very good about the efforts on the part of the owners to make them nice. But I don't know that there's a strict adherence to the guidelines when it comes to renting out the rooms. Anyway. So,
yeah, and that goes back to my comment that in that situation where a room is rented for more than 30 days, and I understand that policy or procedure, but what I would be more curious about is if the TOT is being collected after that 30 days, and if it is, it still should come to the city because it's a city tax that's collected.
Absolutely.
Now, if their receipt shows on day 30, the TOT falls off the price of the room, so be it. But I think that there's rules engaging occupants of motels that it has to be the same person, not the same company.
That is correct.
And so I can see a rat's nest here, but I think we best sort it out earlier than later.
I think it's going to be worth the while of the city to audit this.
I think so,
and I think
at least the first time.
I think it's been going on for quite some time. I'd like to back you up, if you don't mind, to our discussion about what's been paid. That last payment that we received of $10,000 in September of 2011 was for the year of 2011. Even though your budget goes from 2011 to 2012, that payment was for 2011. We did not receive a payment for 2012. Okay, so I want to make that clear.
That's true.
All right. The other thing is, I think it might be helpful to the discussion of the Finance Committee, perhaps, if there was included in that discussion a litany or a list of what the Chamber actually does. Because I think sometimes people don't know, and not everybody that has interacted with the Chamber closely, like Mr. Miller, knows the breadth of the services provided by the Chamber. So I would be happy to supply that if that is necessary for your information.
Our staff report shows a rather lengthy list of the things that the Chamber does and is involved in. So
Your staff report?
Yeah, we have, a multitude of things as far as business opportunities and networking and all that stuff. So anything else would be great.
Okay. Okay. I haven't seen what you saw. So.
Aha.
I'm having. Okay. Was that? Okay.
Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it. Okay. So we were. I guess we're done with that, correct? Item 20. Is there any other comments for item 20? It was discussion only. For me, is that it?
Yes, discussion only.
And I think we have direction.
Direction.
All right. All right, so moving on to item number 21, which should invoke some equally impressive conversation. Resolution supporting Second Amendment and the right to bear arms. Mr. Boyer.
There have been a lot of media reports lately about states and the federal government passing legislation to regulate, restrict, impose fees, and even ban the purchase and/or ownership of guns and ammunition. Most, if not all, of the proposals are in direct violation of the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. It was requested an item be brought to the council for council members to discuss and consider a resolution in support of the Second Amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. I will begin this process with discussion, and I'm torn. If I let Mr. Knorr go first, he's going to say everything everybody else wants to say.
I'll wait till last. All right.
But if I make you go last, are you going to reiterate everything everybody else says? See?
No, there'll be a lot more stuff to talk about.
Well, actually, I am going to defer this to Mr. Miller, who actually brought this resolution forward from a friend up north, I believe, and
Yes, I have a friend that was on the city council of Colfax, California, and we're in contact. He's a veteran, and we keep in touch. But he passed upon a resolution that came from Siskiyou County that passed a resolution in support of this Second Amendment, and I thought it was worthy to pass on to our mayor, and the mayor has since got the ball rolling, and we are here tonight to discuss and hopefully to approve a resolution in support of the Second Amendment in light of all the knee-jerk reactions that have taken place since November, December, and even from here in the issue that happened here in Taft, has really torn people apart in regards to gun ownership. And I think this is simply saying that the right to bear arms is our right as provided in the Constitution, the Second Amendment of the Constitution. And the issue of gun safety and gun control is not the gun, but who is operating the gun. And we're not directing a lot of effort in that direction. And there's too many guns out already. There's no way to take them back. As far as I can see, the only way that the people who don't like guns or don't want to have guns in anybody's hand is to limit ammunition. That certainly is going on right now because you can't buy ammo anywhere. And that's simply the fact that people are hoarding ammunition. Manufacturers are putting out about 1 billion ammunition rounds a week, and most of it goes to the military and then the police department, and what little's left over is made available to the public. But since this discussion has gone on, and since these tragedies have happened in back east and here in Taft, it has gotten us off track, I think. And all we're simply doing is saying from the Taft City Council is that we support the Second Amendment rights, bear arms, nothing more, nothing less. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. Waldrop.
I am a hunter, have been for most of my life. I respect all the laws. I went to school. I learned how to operate these weapons. Would not jeopardize my right to hunt under any circumstance. But there's people out there that do. But the Second Amendment's not intended for hunting rights. We naturally had some bad times here, and we're learning that a lot of facts. Maybe there's some things that we can do to help those that are right at that borderline to not have it happen to them. But you know, there's a lot of thing about the sales. They went up. Everybody's buying everything that's available. You know, just lots of crime. They're letting them out of prison. You know, it's not the weapon. It's what's in the mind of these people that makes it look bad for us. And me personally, I don't care what they do. I will protect my home and my family. I will do this. Everybody needs to go to school. Everybody up here goes to school. Everybody up here's got a concealed weapons permit. And everybody up here might be packing right now. But we respect that right, you know, and these other people are spoiling it for the innocent, where we're going to do nothing but give those crooks, you know, the right to come and get us easier. So if you don't belong to the NRA, I highly suggest you do. I hope you all know the Second Amendment. If you don't, read it. And look at the third one, too. They kind of go together. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Waldron. Mr. Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. Our country was founded with our Constitution that a lot of the colonies did not support. They didn't want to vote for it. They felt like it could be changed. They were afraid that something like today could happen. It is happening right now. So they want to guarantee, along with the Constitution, that our Bill of Rights. Freedom of speech, freedom of having Second Amendment for a right to bear arms, to protect our country against foreign and domestic enemy. Nothing about hunting. We have a lot of people out there who don't like us in the world. The world's changing. It's not getting any better. There's a lot of different revolutions. A lot of our allies are no longer our allies no more. They may think, we may think they're our allies, but we give them money, like it's Egypt. You know, they're giving $250 million over to just recently, or this week, to the Brotherhood, Islam Brotherhood. That might be staying here in this country here. Do we have a fiscal crisis here in this country? Why is that money going out to other countries, supporting them? $50 some odd million for uniforms in Mexico for new TSA here, and all that money going out of this country. Why don't we just keep it here? There's an emergency here. Why don't we keep it here for our police department, you know, or TSA or infrastructure here? I don't see us staying off being officers and stuff. We're watching our budget, trying to stay in the black, but it is an excuse. The Second Amendment, they're trying to do, like other countries like Mexico that has no Second Amendment, Australia no Second Amendment, England, look at the crime rate. Look at the murders that are going on. Yeah, England, they went from guns, to weapons, to knives. They have knives there, cut dull, so they can't stab them over there. 3,000% in crime increase, because the weapons being taken away in those countries there. Mexico, look at all the murders going on, thousands, every day. Every day you find people buried in a hole, cartels going around there, and this isn't a kind of weapons. They can't have them, can't own them. Unless you have connections with the government, unless you're a drug cartel. And we've never been attacked. World War II, World War I, in World War 1812, our farmers had weapons to protect. We had a small militia, but with the farmers, it was the business people that protect our country. We need to keep weapons here, protect and keep our country strong, so that nobody would ever want to attack us, afraid of an American behind every bush. But we're slowly losing our freedom. I'm afraid they start with taking away one thing, changing one thing. All of a sudden, they'll take this weapon away, that magazine away. There's going to be a rifle, and the last to go would be the double-barrel shotgun. You can shoot and the scare someone away, cornering them. Go bite me or something, whatever. But anyway, you know, Biden, I'm sorry, it's Biden. But, you know, it's ridiculous they're trying to do. I'm afraid that they're going to start somewhere. We have to be standing strong. We all got to stand strong. But they might think, oh, this is the hunters. Well, yeah, we all hunt. Some like to target shoot. It's not there to protect our family, to protect our country. And once they take that away, what will be next? A First Amendment? What we can say and cannot say, and which is starting to happen now. There are certain words you can't use no more. Some of it I understand, but it's not polite. But all of a sudden, we can't express ourselves no more. That'll be the next one to go. What about our freedom of religion? How much is that being attacked? They'll all start somewhere. I think they're trying to do the biggest thing here. They take our weapons away, they can go through all our amendments. All we're going to have left is our Constitution. What good is it going to be if it's not strong enough to protect it? Anyway, I'm strong in favor, and I wish other cities would take notice and do the same thing that we are, like Colfax and Taft and other counties. We all need to do this and support it. And I encourage everybody to support the NRA and other club organizations that support the Second Amendment, because they're out there taking a lot of money. They are fighting to keep our rights, and that's all I have to say, because I can keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cryer. Mr. Knorr.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One thing I would ask is, are we going to read this resolution? The resolution itself is a very powerful statement, and I believe it ought to be read. So
absolutely, that can be part of it.
All right.
Would you like the honor?
I would be honored to do it, as a matter of fact. Thank you very much, and then discuss a little bit. A lot of the things that are contained in this resolution have been discussed by and will be discussed by this council, but this is the resolution. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft in support of the Second Amendment and the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Whereas the American people have retained to themselves the right to keep and bear arms, a right not subject to infringement by Congress, as is memorialized in the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, as part of the United States Bill of Rights ratified on December 15, 1791. And whereas Cooper versus Aaron held that since the Supremacy Clause of Article 6 made the U.S. Constitution the supreme law of the land, and Marbury versus Madison gave the Supreme Court the power of judicial review, the precedent set forth in Brown versus Board of Education is the supreme law of the land and is therefore binding on all states, regardless of any state laws contradicting it. Whereas a landmark decision issued by the United States Supreme Court in District of Columbia versus Heller established that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess a firearm from federal infringement unconnected with service in a militia, and to use that arm for traditionally lawful purposes such as, but not limited to, self-defense within the home. Whereas the court in McDonald versus City of Chicago established that the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution extended protection of the individual right to keep and bear arms to the several states under due process provisions of that amendment. And whereas the strongest reason for the people to retain the right to keep and bear arms is, as a last resort, to protect themselves against tyranny in government. And whereas the government of California has repeatedly released violent criminals back into its lawful society. Whereas according to Merriam-Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary, the word infringement means an encroachment or trespass on a right or privilege. In other words, a violation or constraint upon a right. Whereas, sadly, recent high-profile events within our country have sparked discussions of gun control at the local, state, and federal levels, which have advanced proposed legislation which professes to address gun violence, while in fact infringes upon Second Amendment's rights. This has included numerous gun and ammunition control proposals, outright gun bans, as well as registration schemes that would convert the right to a revocable privilege. Whereas the City of Taft's economy is supported primarily by petroleum-related businesses and nearby farming enterprises, and the right to keep and bear arms is fundamental to our right to protect our families, our property, and our livelihood. And whereas the residents of Taft respect the rights protected by the Second Amendment through the recognition and support of responsible firearm ownership, training, and awareness. And whereas the Chief of Police for the City of Taft has sworn a solemn oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, chief among those is the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And whereas the Chief of Police agrees that further passage of laws, regulations, fees, fines, taxes, or registrations on owning guns and/or ammunition is a restriction by the state of California and federal governments, and thus an infringement of the Second Amendment. And whereas the Chief of Police agrees enforcement will not be considered a lawful execution thereof. Now therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Taft supports all discussions seeking new ideas to protect our citizens from violence, but cannot abide by any order, provision, law, or agency initiative that violates the protections of the Second Amendment. That is the resolution that is before this council this evening. And it speaks quite well of all of the reasons why. Personal protection is chief among those, besides the fact that when our forefathers drew this up, the tyranny of a government was first on their minds, because after all, they had just fought a war, and they had lived under a tyrannical leader. thus the reason for the Revolutionary War. So don't think it was put in there so that you could still go bird hunting or you could still go target shooting with the .22. It was not. And they knew that although they had just fought that war, things happen. Democracies don't last all that long. All you need to do is read your history, and they will collapse. And apathy is oftentimes the reason for the collapse of democracy. Indifference to the cause. Give away one right, that's just one. I still have 6 others. 10 years down the road, you only had 5 to start with. We're going to give away another one. I had dinner with a retired general from the UK. And he sat down with me, and I was touring the beaches of Normandy, World War II, Bloody Omaha, Utah Beach. And he told me, as an American, all about the wonderful Second Amendment we had in this country, and that we needed to guard it with our lives, with our very being, because it would be taken away. Here he was, a retired general in what we don't consider to be a tyrannical or oppressive government. He was not allowed to own a repeating handgun, not a revolver. Any rifle he cared to own, he had to petition the government, prove that he had permission to hunt such and such an animal at such and such a property, and then they would decide whether or not he truly needed to own that firearm in that caliber for that purpose. That's not a tyrannical government, but you know what happened in England? They lost their rights one at a time because of indifference. Divide and conquer. That's the way government works when they want to change their control over you. The personal protection issue at hand. Donnie Youngblood said it, I do believe, and Chief, you straighten me out if I'm incorrect in this, and he said, don't misunderstand what we do. We're cleanup. Make no mistake about it, okay? They cannot be everywhere all the time. In this day and age, with cutbacks, with the way the prison system is being revised, people are getting out sooner. You've got, there was a big article in the paper the other day about some 3,400 convicted criminals that had ankle bracelets with GPS on them that simply cut them off and disappeared. A lot of those were sexual predators, repeat offenders. They were in the system, known to the system. Those are the people supposed to be providing for the safety of your children and your families. I remember President Obama had all those kids behind him, and he said, if I can take your ARs and your high-cap mags, I'm going to make it safer for your children. Of course, Vice President Biden said, all one need do is when somebody wants to try to get into your home, this is what he told his wife. We live out in a rural area, he said. If somebody's trying to get in your home, you take your shotgun, you walk out the back door. Okay, wait a second. If somebody's trying to break into your home to hurt you, what are you going to do? You're going to walk out the back door, and then you fire your gun into the air, and they'll run off. Now, in my mind, what you've just done is open the door for the criminals, especially if you're a woman, and there's more than one, because like rabid dogs, they run in packs. Oftentimes, there's more than one. And then you have discharged your firearm, so there you are with an open door and an empty firearm and bad guys outside. Capital suggestion, absolutely capital. Anybody with any tactical training knows what you would do if you were a woman by yourself in a house and you were armed. You would call 911. You would barricade yourself in your bedroom, close and lock the bedroom door, get behind the bed, keep the phone on, keep talking to the operator, and if that individual kicked the door down or kicked it in, that individual means to do you harm. You don't fire a shot in the air. You don't try to wing them. You put it center mass right there. And if they don't go down, you put another one right behind it. And then you reload because his scumbag buddy is probably coming down the hallway too. That's the way you handle those things. The Second Amendment is a right, okay? Those who choose not to take advantage and exercise their right have made a conscious decision. I will not critique them. That is fine. That's your decision to make. That is your right as well. That's why you live in America. By the same token, do not stomp on me because I choose to exercise my right. In the event of a national emergency, Hurricane Katrina, an earthquake, when things get civilly unruly, then you will be able to protect yourself and protect your property and protect your family. The police will not be able to be everywhere. Because here's a newsflash for you. In the event of an emergency like that, the police have family too. You don't think they want to protect their family, their loved ones? Of course they do. The Second Amendment to the Constitution shall not be infringed. That's pretty simple. That's pretty straightforward. And it needs to be continued on. We are coming into a drawdown phase of the military in the combat actions we have and the conflicts we have overseas. And yet it would seem they were over there defending our rights and our Constitution, and now the bigger fight is right here in the United States, right here on our soil. They are coming back from risking their lives and going through terrible things, and they get home, and the bigger fight is here. All those rights that they fought to defend for their families and their homeland are under attack right here. So now, tonight, the 5 people here who are elected to represent the people of the city of Taft want you to know that we respect your right to keep and bear arms, your right to protect yourself and your loved ones, those rights, and they shall not be infringed, not in the city of Taft. That's all I have.
You do such a good job. Man. There's not much I can add to it. I agree with everything that's been said, and my biggest concern is this isn't just about gun control. This is about our civil rights. Because as many of you had mentioned, today it might be your right to bear arms, tomorrow it might be your choice of religion or your rights to free speech. So I'm not going to go back through everything that's been so eloquently said up here, but there was a couple of things that I think you hit on, and that is that if you take the guns away from the legal citizens, if you think the bad guys aren't going to have them, you're crazy as a loon. I'm sorry. Bad guys always have the stuff that the good guys would like to have, and as far as guns and stuff, they're pretty well equipped. And then I read on the internet the other day that, and I don't remember who said it, but they said gun control is like taking all the cars away from law-abiding citizens to punish drunk drivers. It's the same analogy. And what I will add too is that when Louise Hudgens finished the resolution and I proofed it and the chief had his input on it and it looked really well, really good, you guys did a great job. I also forwarded it to Kevin McCarthy, Gene Fuller, and Shannon Grove. I did not hear from Kevin McCarthy, but that's understandable. He's not in the office right now, but I fully expect to. But both Gene Fuller and Shannon Grove said, go get it. They support this 100%. My guess is that our resolution is going to show up in places and it's going to kind of start, I hate to use the word tea party, but it's going to start a grassroots effect. And I think you'll see more of this happening throughout the state. And I just hope and pray that they hear our message. I hope it doesn't fall on deaf ears. So.
If I might add, Mr. Mayor, like I spoke with Shannon Grove today. She was on her way to Sacramento, wanted to be here. In her words, I support what you guys are doing 1,000%, and she would hope that the League of California Cities would take note of this action and that other cities would follow suit. So I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, it's fine, and I'll agree with you, or go back to what you had said. 220 years ago, our founding fathers adopted laws to protect everybody from themselves, which I think is just, I always loved history, but I was never a big history buff. But when you start looking at things like this and realize that these people had the foresight to see that we're government, or we're becoming government, and we're not going to be what the government was that we came from. And they produced documents and passed laws and gave inalienable rights to people to protect them from government. And so I think that's enough said. Does anybody get an idea on how this is going, by the way? Yeah, okay.
I would like to make one clarification.
Please.
Just for the record, I did not write the resolution. It was provided. I just tweaked it to make it unique for Taft, and then
yes.
Chief Whiting added his comments.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. I understand what you're saying. Any other discussion? This is going to be a fight. Then I would be proud to entertain a motion.
Make the motion.
Second.
Okay. I would be proud to entertain the motion to direct the city attorney.
I'll make the motion.
We'll get to you in a minute. Motion to direct the city attorney and staff to work out I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. I apologize. Gosh. There it is. Motion to approve a resolution entitled "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft in support of the Second Amendment and the right of the people to keep and bear arms."
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion, gentlemen?
I would third that. Councilman Miller?
May we have a roll call?
Councilmember Cryer.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldrop.
Yes.
Councilmember Miller.
Proudly, yes.
Councilmember Noor.
Absolutely.
And Mayor Linder.
Very proudly. Thank you. Yes.
God bless America. That's right.
Okay, the last item on our regular agenda is item number 22, which is Charter City discussion. Want a break? Gentlemen, you want to take a quick break? How long, Russell, how long is your program?
Maybe 7 minutes.
Okay. Can we do that? Okay. Is everybody okay? Because we've been sitting here quite a while tonight, so. Okay, then, Mr. Boyer, would you please?
Councilmember Cryer has requested, with the concurrence from Councilmember Miller, that the City of Taft look at the possibility of becoming a charter city. Taft was incorporated as a general law city in 1910. A general law city has only those corporate powers expressly conferred upon it by the state constitution or legislature. A charter city writes its own charter and can in some cases be exempt from certain mandates and regulations. The question whether Taft should become a charter city would have to be put to the voters, probably at the next general election, consolidated with the county on November 4th, 2014. A standalone election would cost the city an estimated $5 per registered voter. There are 3,035 voters as of February 28, 2013.
Thank you. Mr. Cryer, you'd requested this, and I'm just going to turn it over to you and introduce your guest and go from there.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, as you all know, our state is changing. We're growing up in the city, and a lot of things are happening. And when last time I was at the League of Cities convention, I heard about this charter. I thought it fit Taft perfectly. And I met Councilman Russell Johnson here from the city of Bakersfield, and he gave me a good earful, which I agreed with him on all the good parts of being a charter city. You know, the safe, more of a home rule type government, and that we're exempt from some state rules and regulations, and among them prevailing wages and many other areas. So I'd like to introduce Russell Johnson for his program. Yes, set.
Can you guys hear me through the mic?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Wow.
I'm going to pass out a presentation here, and let me bring up the PowerPoint. Perfect. Okay. Let me start off by thanking Mayor Linder and the council for having me here this evening, and special thanks to Councilmember Cryer for inviting me to speak with you. My name is Russell Johnson, and I represent the Associated Builders and Contractors. Councilmember Cryer also alluded to another position I hold, but this evening.
Can I interrupt you just 1 second?
Sure.
The camera's looking directly at the back of your head, so you've got a portable mic, so we'd like to see your face on camera.
Let's see if that works.
There you go.
Councilmember Cryer mentioned that I also do serve as a city councilman, so I appreciated the conversation you guys were having about what Sacramento does to cities, because quite frankly, Sacramento has continually been making life difficult for local government. And as we get into this, you'll find that a city charter is really the closest thing that cities can do to get local control away from Sacramento. And it's a protection that only cities have and charter cities have. It's nothing that counties can experience, and it's nothing that special districts can enjoy those rights of. So with that, we'll get into it real quick. I know the hour is getting long. What is a charter? A charter is basically a constitution for your community. The charter enables your city to avail themselves of the rights that are granted under the California State Constitution. This is what's called a municipal affairs power. It's what gives your charter cities a greater level of local control. Charters do not need to list every power or service the city intends to provide within the charter, but it is required that cities declare governance over municipal affairs. This is significant because as your community starts the discussion about what goes into a city charter, it's important to point out that you don't need to have all the trimmings, all the bells and whistles on it for every service your city's going to provide. You get the framework of your charter, and then your charter can piggyback onto that through either ordinances or resolutions declaring policy of the council that allow you to exercise your rights as a charter city. Charter cities and home rule. Article 9, Section 5 of the California Constitution states that it shall be competent in any city charter to provide that the city governed thereunder may make and enforce all ordinances and regulations in respect to municipal affairs, subject only to restrictions and limitations provided in their several charters and in respect to other matters that they shall be subject to general laws. City charters adopted pursuant to this Constitution shall supersede any existing charter, and with respect to municipal affairs, shall supersede all laws inconsistent therewith. This power for charter cities to establish their own rules when governing their own municipal affairs is commonly called home rule. This is a fancy verbiage from the California State Constitution that basically says charter cities have a special right that other forms of government, be it general law cities, be it special districts, be it counties, they do not get to experience under the California State Constitution. What is a municipal affair? The California Constitution outlines the following items as municipal affairs: regulations of the city police force, regulations of subgovernment in all or part of a city, the conduct of city elections, the manner in which municipal officers are elected. Carrying on, courts have extended the authority of charter cities. The California courts have the responsibility of interpreting what else is a right for charter cities. The following areas have been determined to be in municipal affairs and not matters of statewide concern: municipal election matters, land use and zoning decisions with some exceptions, how a city spends its tax dollars, that's a critical one.
That's a big one.
And municipal contracts. Recently, with everything that is fluid with California cities and the fact that Sacramento is continually trying to exert more power upon local entities and take our local control away, what you end up seeing is that in some cases the state attempts to, or some parties litigate and try to enforce general law provisions upon charter cities. In July 22nd of 2012, you had this ruling from the California Supreme Court, 5-2 decision, and it was the court in the State Building Trades Council versus the City of Vista. The City of Vista had exempted itself from prevailing wage as its right as a charter city. This Building Trades Council sued. This quote is from the ruling. Autonomy with regard to the expenditure of public funds lies at the heart of what it means to be an independent governmental entity. We can think of nothing that is of greater municipal concern than how a city's tax dollars will be spent, nor anything which could be of less interest to taxpayers of other jurisdictions. I really like that last phrase, nor anything which could be of less interest to taxpayers of other jurisdictions. And that was extremely significant because the California Supreme Court said, hey, it is up to that municipal entity to dictate what is a local municipal affair. Possible actions by cities include, and some of these have been implemented, others of these are ideas that are discussed, and by no means is this a complete list. This is just a few examples. Public disclosure of city contracting and fair and competitive open bidding requirements. Exemptions from prevailing wage. With efforts to undermine Prop 13 in Sacramento, moving to a 55% vote for infrastructure projects, you're seeing some charter cities are actually looking at expanding their 2/3 vote requirement and making it part of their city charter, or doing an ordinance requiring that if you're going to do a tax vote, that it must be a 2/3 majority, as guaranteed under Proposition 13. And then there's even the provisions of strengthening the Brown Act. Many cities realize that the state of California declared Brown Act reimbursements, while it was an act that was mandated by the state, should have been funded to the local levels. The state said we're no longer going to fund Brown Act provisions. So strengthening the Brown Act or making a statement in your charter that we're going to have open meeting laws, we're going to post agendas, increasing that transparency, those are things you can include in a charter document. Areas the courts have set are off limits. The courts have ruled the following areas are off limits because they are considered to be what's called a statewide concern. Anything that is a statewide concern is not a municipal affair and therefore is left to the state to determine. They include things like traffic and vehicle regulation, tort claims against governmental entities, and regulations of the school systems. The cities can't meddle in the business of schools. What is the process? You have two options to implementing a city charter. The city can appoint a charter commission. The commission has the responsibility of drafting and debating that charter, and then they have to bring it back to your body to then be put on the ballot at your next regularly scheduled election. Or the governing board of the city can draft the charter, and either way you decide to take this, if Taft decides to open itself up and become a charter city, it really, the public has the most critical role in the whole process. You're going to have public hearings. You'll probably look at drafts of city charters. The public could come in and say, you know what, we really think this should be in here. Those kinds of things, you're going to have a public process, whether it's a charter committee or whether the council as a body decides to do it within your chambers on a regularly scheduled meeting. The charter is not adopted by the city until it is ratified by a majority of the voters on the city's next election. Why does ABC support utilizing their municipal affairs and rights? I didn't introduce who ABC is, what we do, the Associated Builders and Contractors. I did that on purpose. I wanted to wait till the very end. ABC is a business trade nonprofit association. We train tomorrow's workforce for careers in construction. We have safety programs, we have training programs, and some of our members, and actually quite low amount of them in Kern County, because we're heavily invested in the heavy industry and the oil industry, don't do public works. But some of our members do public works, and the ones that do are very supportive of cities exercising municipal rights under the California State Constitution. One, it's important for local control. Who else knows better how to govern your city than the people that are accountable to local voters? Increased transparency. You can add additional things to make sure that when you have bidding on projects, be it public works projects, that it's open, that they'll be posted on the internet. There's things you can do to increase transparency for your community and for the voters and taxpayers of your residency. And then last but not least, reduce costs for the taxpayers. And this is really where our interest comes in. For ABC, we're a firm believer that if the taxpayers get the benefit of reduced costs because of exemptions from things such as prevailing wage, then what you end up seeing is a huge savings, anywhere from 10 to 30% savings in costs on public works projects. With that, if you can build 2 fire stations instead of 1, and you need to build 3 fire stations, but you only have enough money for 1 with prevailing wage, but you can exempt yourself and build 2 fire stations, the public's better off, the public safety rises, and from our perspective as contractors, there's a benefit because people are able to work and they're put back to work and they're able to work more consistently. So that's the presentation today. I'm really open for any questions you might have, and I'm sure there are quite a few, but I want to thank you again, Mayor Linder and the council, for having me come here this evening, and I'd love to answer any questions you might have.
Well, how many charter cities are there in California, and how many other cities are considering the change to charter cities?
You have 121 charter cities in the state of California. Out of, oh gosh, I think there's like 400 cities.
Yeah, 400 plus.
What you're looking at is not, we've had multiple cities are actually interested in becoming charter cities or expanding their charter city rights that were not previously exercised. The city of Stockton, everyone's familiar with their situation, is actually looking at expanding their rights under their charter, which have not been utilized to date, in particular in the area of prevailing wage exemption. The city of Grover Beach is looking at becoming a city charter city. The city of Arroyo Grande. You also have the city of Costa Mesa, the city of Escondido, as well as the city of Buellton over in Santa Barbara County.
So the ball's starting to roll.
Oh, the ball is rolling, and really a lot of it started with the City of Vista issue. And the two cities in Kern County that are currently charter cities are the city of Shafter and the city of Bakersfield. The city of Shafter for years has been a charter city, and they've exercised their rights under the California Constitution, and they've exempted themselves from prevailing wage for many, many years. The city of Bakersfield recently, after the Vista decision, made that same determination, and in the cases of 3 projects, they've seen savings on 3 public works projects. In one, the savings were over 30%. So when you look at this, there's truly a benefit for the taxpayers in local cities, but there's also the home rule advantage, and you get to set some of those home rules being a charter city. And as these charter cities, as cities are looking at this, some are saying, well, how far can we push the envelope? You know, what is a municipal affair and what is a matter of statewide concern? And that is kind of an ever-morphing issue, which as you develop your city charter, I would encourage you to try to make it more open as opposed to being extremely restrictive, because as that morphing and you get those court opinions like we did with the City of Vista ruling, you get the affirmation of those rights, and in some cases you may get the contraction of some of those rights. So those things can be dealt with through ordinance or through resolution affirming council policy.
Are there any negative repercussions coming from Sacramento? Sacramento is typically, if you keep them from diving into your business, they get kind of ugly with you.
Through the mayor, Councilmember, you hit the nail on the head. Sacramento is constantly trying to take the rights of cities, charter cities in particular, away. There is a piece of legislation which is in Sacramento now. It's SB 7, and that piece of legislation would basically say if a charter city exempts itself from prevailing wage, you will not be eligible to get state funds. Last year, SB 922 and 829 passed, and those punished cities that had what was called a Fair and Open Competition Ordinance. A Fair and Open Competition Ordinance said, hey, we're going to allow all firms to bid on projects, whether they be union or non-union, and we're going to say that project labor agreements are discriminatory and cannot be used within our jurisdiction. Sacramento said, no, you cannot have an ordinance like that. As I mentioned before, as these charter city rules contract and expand and are reaffirmed and are expanded by the courts, you'll see that SB 7, as we referenced earlier with the prevailing wage punitive punishment that is in it, those things will be challenged in court and they'll be upheld. I would argue that SB 7 is short-sighted, given the fact that the City of Vista lawsuit in the California Supreme Court just affirmed the rights of charter cities to exempt themselves from prevailing wage. So the state to try to use for special interest to try to use their friends in Sacramento to tell charter cities what to do is a little bit backhanded, but it's also a violation of that court ruling. I don't anticipate that's going to uphold.
Short-sighted, but well-funded by the unions who control Sacramento.
Correct.
Mr. Waldron, any comment?
Well, I got a lot, but I'd like, are we going to, we'll be getting into this more.
This is discussion at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I know Mr. Cryer's probably more educated on this than any of us. Basically, I mean, the money savings is through the no longer having the need to do prevailing wage on public projects. City of Taft, about 90 to 95% of their projects our public projects that we do are funded through grants, special incentives, whatever the case may be. And it's my understanding that those would not be exempt from prevailing wage because the state's holding the strings.
Mayor Linder, you're absolutely correct. If there's a drop of state money or federal money, whether they be CDBG funds or state grants or federal grants, you have to comply with the laws that require prevailing wage. However, when you look at the struggle your neighbor to the east went to, the city of Bakersfield, less than 1% of all their projects would have been exempt from this, and yet they still implemented it. and they still are seeing savings today. And I can give you an anecdote about the city of Shafter. The city of Shafter, in my discussions with their city manager, John Gwynn, they had the opportunity to build a restroom at a park. And as they were building that restroom at the park, they were going to use CDBG dollars. The cost for that restroom would have been over $100,000 using those CDBG funds. By exempting themselves, they were able to build that restroom for a lot less, and I think it was below even $60,000 at the park. I want to take it a step further and also remind you that if you have sewer funds, if you have consolidated maintenance districts, if you have, you do a bond to say do building retrofits, or you bond to build some more infrastructure, and those dollars are purely local, they're city-only dollars, then that's where you can exercise that exemption from prevailing wage. It's a tool you have in your toolbox that general law cities do not. So as long as Taft is a general law city, it's a tool you'll never be able to access, while if you become a charter city, it opens you up to a whole new set of tools.
Interesting. Mr. Cryer, you've been rather quiet.
I'm always quiet. Just talk about the Second Amendment, and I'll go back a little bit. But recommendation, we'd probably go ahead. My plan, I think, along with the council, was just a general election, like about 2 years from now, next election. It's going to take a lot of, it gives time to do it right, not going real fast, and educate the public and get everything right. But we recommend that the commission be the council members, be the commission, to go a little faster as far as drawing up the plans and presenting to the public, or?
You know, I think it's really up to your body what you think is the best choice for you. My thought would be the public's going to have input every step of the process. So if the public's going to have input, you might as well just make your body the one to make all to draft the document, to have the public hearings, to do all those things. Because when you open it up to the charter committee, you add all this additional layers, and it opens the document up to being a little bit more complex. As I mentioned, the simpler the document, the more flexibility you have as those charter city rights are contract and expand throughout time, depending upon how the legal interpretations go.
If I can, Mr. Mayor, what I would suggest is direction to the city attorney and the city manager to develop a proposal for the city council to consider regarding establishment of a charter committee or commission, or other recommendations we have for moving forward on this idea. And we will work together with staff to develop something that we think can move us towards a final resolution.
We don't need a motion for that, do we?
No, just direction to staff, just
no, I think
consensus.
Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable that we start fact finding, basically?
Yes. Yep.
And look at the pros and cons for our city, because I think every city is virtually different.
Correct.
And
I don't think we have to sell ourselves that much, but we do have to sell it to the public. And why change after 100 years in existence, that kind of thing. So,
well,
basically, how the same, except a few changes to it we have right now. It's not a
we could basically take all of our ordinances and operations and everything and just say, now we're charter, if the election was to go that way. And then we have the right to, as you say, expand or contract that as we go along. So.
Correct. And you can even decide, what, we want to move to a strong mayor model. We want to elect the mayor, or we want to elect it from within the body. All those things can be put within the charter. But it really, like you said, each community is different. We stand here as a resource prepared to help. So if you need multiple charters from other communities, we're prepared to supply them. Anything you need from us, let me know, and I'm here as a resource.
Very good. Gentlemen, any other questions, comments?
No. Thank you very much.
Russell, thank you so much for taking the time to come out and visit with us.
Thank you for passing your resolution.
We expect to see something from the Bakersfield City Council.
Already in the works.
All right, good deal. All right, that concludes our regular business for the evening. The council will adjourn to closed session. Item A is at this time the City Council will hold a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, Section C, regarding a claim filed by Folk and Delgado. I hope I said that right. And we will, careful, we will also, item B, we will also hold a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 21151A regarding determination of disability for Robin Atkins. And item C.
If I can interrupt
yes,
for a
I'm
second
sorry.
on item B, I'm asking that that be withdrawn from the agenda tonight. We'll re-agendize it later.
Okay, so on B, it's a never mind. So on C, I got it read anyway, didn't I?
That's it.
Item C, at this time, the City Council will hold a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 to give direction to its labor negotiator concerning labor negotiations for all units. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Holy, so hang on a minute. I didn't see that. We also have another item, item D. At this time, the City Council will hold a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 for the council to give instructions to its negotiator Craig Jones regarding negotiation for real property, various locations. Thank you for being with us tonight. We are adjourned to closed session.